How's it going, guys? Oh, now we're live on YouTube as well. It worked. Hey, we're here. Hi, everybody. We're here for another edition of GDP Live. Welcome, everybody, on Baby Mermaids Productions. Everybody on YouTube, I appreciate you guys being here and sharing your morning with me. I want to start out by saying, if you enjoy what you're seeing here, please hit the like button. Please hit subscribe. Please let everybody know that you love this show and you would die for me. Uh, just nothing else. Really, just that, and that's good enough, I feel like. Don't forget to check out a new Falls Count Anywhere, which is going to the free model as opposed to paid model for the time being. Until we can figure out some more fun, cool things to do to charge you for, we figured we'd put some free episodes out on the Baby Mermaid Productions YouTube page. So if you like wrestling, if you at all are a fan of two 30-something-year-old dudes that still love to watch wrestling and are very knowledgeable of it. Like, at first you want to say, like, what the way I put that, it makes it seem like I'm saying 30-year-old men that still watch wrestling that are actually kind of the go-to thing. It's a whole world in there, baby. There's theatrics, there's sports, there's stuntmen, superheroes. I love it. It's fun to hear a lot of the storylines and the way these guys talk about it. So if you're also a fan of wrestling and the sort, check out Falls Count Anywhere with Manny and Youngblood. That's Manny. That's Youngblood. Check him out. Also, check out the new Proper Ebonics is out just about every Tuesday. There's new episodes, so you can either listen to that anywhere you get podcasts, or you can watch it right here on Baby Mermaids Productions. Today is Wednesday, the 18th, and I have realized that not realized. I kind of saw it. I mean, everybody saw it coming, and they said it literally was going to happen. But everything's shutting down again. So that's okay because we got toilet paper. We got hey, Alan's live too. I can't join his. That would be way too many distractions. There we go. But no, I got oh yeah, also anybody watching here on Instagram Live and or YouTube, if you want to join in. If you want to join in for video, just let me know. I can send you the Zoom link, and you can come on the YouTube feed if you'd like. Or if you just want it to be audio only, you can join in here on Instagram Live, and they're only going to hear you on YouTube, and I'll erase this once we're done. Hold on, let me turn this down. There we go. My own producer. My hands are freezing. What was I going to say? Oh, COVID. COVID's shutting everything down. I think everybody kind of saw that coming, but it's happening a lot faster. I guess my point was when I realized when they originally said I don't know, the professionals, the doctors, the specialists that said we're going to have, like, when the first spike was happening, the first big spike, the initial spike, the spike it was basically when they said, oh, there's going to be a bigger spike coming up. There's going to be another big one. I had not realized that they were factoring, they did the science wagering, they did all the what's it called, the maths and the words and all that stuff. The math with the letters and everything. They did all that, and they factored in the dumb, I think. I don't think I realized that. What's up, Ron? Just got done listening to, also, just a little sidetrack. Speaking of COVID, just got done listening to the latest episode of the DNR podcast. Make sure anybody that's listening to this, make sure you check out the DNR podcast with Damian Robinson and Ron Kane. That is, excuse me. They were just talking about a recent possible scare, or actually no, it's a current scare of somewhat of a person that tested positive that was at a mic, that not one of the comics, it was an audience member, but it's they talk about it on the podcast. And also didn't realize you guys were fucking lifesavers. You know what I mean? They had both could just whip up a story about, like, oh yeah, this time, oh yeah, this thing happened. Really exciting podcast. Check it out. And I'm actually, now that you're here, I wanted to just bend your ear here a little bit, Ron. they talked about just near the end of the podcast, they talked about a building fetish. This guy that was, or something like that. He was attracted to buildings, and that's what. Yeah, it was something like he wanted to they were trying to figure out the kink that they have, and and this and they it reminded me of a story that we talked about, and we actually ended up going to the place, but there was a lady who ended up marrying amusement park rides or something like that. There was two different rides, and it's at Knoebels. There's a free amusement park here in Pennsylvania, that is basically you pay for. It's like a carnival, but it's an amusement park. So like you pay for tickets, and then you pay for each thing that you do. So instead of paying the price of admission, you go there. I think parking's like probably like $5 or something like that, and you go in, and there's rides. There's cool rides. There's roller coasters. There's pretty. I mean, the food was pretty good. Like it was for a free amusement park. It's great, but for an amusement park, it's like coming from Florida. It's kind of like Jesus. Come on, guys. Amusement park. It's a park. But either way, there are, I believe, 2 rides at Knoebels that 2 different people have gotten married to. And I don't know about divorced, but definitely married to. What up, Eric? I feel like there's a weird, like, I don't, you never want to kink shame, right? But there's a legitimate conversation there, right? So there's a conversation where when people are talking about gay marriage, a lot of times, one of the more ignorant arguments I feel like people have are like, what's next? People are going to marry food or animals or something like that. And it's no, they can't consent, right? That's kind of, right? Like, so I kind of feel like my rule was always, you can't marry it unless it can say, yeah, I want to get married in some way, or like by signing something, by like going like this, yes, like consciously saying, do you want to get married to this person? And that's you fuck and everything, and you live together. Like a ride cannot consciously go, yes, I do. It can't like acknowledge. You can't. There's no. I feel like there has to be somewhat of consciousness, right? And there is in animals, and you could teach an animal a trick and say like, all right, now when somebody asks if you consent to a relationship, bark twice, okay? You know what I mean? Like people can make those kind of deals, but like I don't think you can't do that with like a building or anything. Like even they're even making robot sex dolls that can deny you sex, that will not consent to sex. So like, I mean, that's a weird one because I feel like that's starting to go into that weird thing where they're like, well, if you have a weird fetish or a non-traditional fetish, let's say, no one's here to kink shame, maybe we should make like when they say like, oh, pedophiles, we should make, should you have dolls? There's really uncomfortable conversations you can have here. So it's a lot more fun to talk about people that want to marry buildings or rides or anything like that. But I just don't understand where does the connection lose? And I feel like for me, when do you lose the connection between like saying like, yeah, let them do what they. I mean, ultimately, let them marry a ride. I don't give a shit. Like really, but I don't know what does that mean, because you're not going to live together. You're not allowed to live at the park. You can't like, and not all marriages. Not all of them share an address. Sometimes there's long distance ones. I don't know about marriages, but we're not here to judge. Yeah, well, that's what I was saying. The sex doll people are, I feel like the sex doll people are the people that are saying like, we want sex, but what's the JG want? We want sex and we want it. No, that's Lemaire. I love Lemaire. But there's check out Lemaire Lee also, if I can. Just give, if you're here right now, just go check out Lemaire. He's a wonderful man. But there's the sex doll people, I feel like I was saying earlier, they have versions of sex dolls that cannot consent and can say yes or no, but it's ultimately you that has the button that says on or off, right? You are God in that scenario. Sex dolls always kind of felt like that way with me. Like whenever, like not with me, but anytime I thought of somebody like buying a sex doll, and like doing like that kind of thing of like you're literally just gonna pull it out of a closet or out of a room or something like that, and then just like you like it seems like such a thing like that, but it does I'm in control, I'm a god, like a god complex kind of thing, you know. I don't know. That's a different conversation, but definitely people. And again, when does it become kink shaming, and when does it become just honest conversation of like, hey, I don't know if you should be allowed to marry a ride or marry a building. Like who? That's not your building. And like, so then does it come down to like the person who? Then you're getting into like you're becoming the medieval patriarchy because you're like, no, the owner of the building needs to consent. So the owner of the building and the man who wants to, or woman who wants to marry it, need to sit down and negotiate. Well, why doesn't the building have say? Because it's a building and it can't talk, right? Because it's a building. So how do you like? How did you fall in love with the? I'm telling you. Listen to the DNR podcast. They are asking the right questions. You guys need to delve into that. I feel like way more because there's a litany of fucking information. Or Ron, you are more than welcome. Like I said, you can join in on audio only if you want with the Instagram, or you can join in through Zoom. You let me know. I'll DM you a link because I wanted to unpack that when you started talking about that because like I said, it reminded me of that. And I feel like we never, when it was a couple episodes of Buddha Boys. I feel like we talked about the lady who married the amusement park rides, and then eventually when we ended up going to Knoebels, he reminded me while we were there. Oh yeah, here's one of the rides. here's Mrs. Blah 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 or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, or Mr. I don't know. And then are we assuming that a ride has a gender? Are you attracted to the feeling of that the ride gives you? Like, is it something like that where like, oh, I love Dominique because she makes me feel this way, so, and you know, she's my favorite ride. Boosh. You see that? I married my favorite ride just like the lady married her favorite ride. You know what I'm I asked her to marry me, I'm pretty sure, before we actually, well, no, I can't remember actually. That's not none of your business. Wait, hold on. Ron says, that has to hurt when the doll is turning you down. Yeah, I think that's and I don't know if there's like a randomizer thing to it, because then that would be, then you are simulating a relationship with the robot. Then you're saying like, oh, there's a doll that says yay or nay, but as a random thing, just like a human being, like, different contributing factors in the day lead to the fact where you're like, I don't want to fuck today, or I don't feel like having, you know what I mean? I don't feel like making love with you today. So I'll get my sex doll out. And the sex doll's like, beep, boop, beep. Nah, my computing shows that it's just not the right time. My head hurts or something, you know, whatever it means. Like, I don't know how they do the math or whatever of it, but it is interesting. And I'm actually, you know what? I'm going to do more sex doll research. See, that's weird though, right? To do that, because I don't want one. I just want to know about them. I want to know about the actually, that's perfect. That actually leads me right into the next topic that I wanted to talk about. I want to know what love is. That's when we started talking about the other day. I didn't know it was going to lead into like a theme for the whole week with this. And Ron, like I said, if you want to talk more sex dolls and marrying buildings and stuff like that, at any point, let me know, and I'm down to talk to you guys. If you guys want to talk about it more on DNR, if you want to come on here talk about it, I'm here for it. I want to talk. I want to know. I want to know what that building love is. I want to talk to the lady that married the building. I don't know if Chris knows her somehow. I don't know. And the way he started talking about Chris William, a friend of mine from Williamsport, former Buddha Boys co-host, it talked about like almost like he kind of knew her. So like, I don't think he does. I don't think he knows her actually, but either way, I want to find out. Sex doll research. That seems like the file. That seems like the folder that I make to put on my desktop. Like, that's what I name it to say like, no, it's just research. I'm just reading the articles. All right. So, but no, we were talking about artists that were. Oh yeah, you want to talk about it now? Do you want me to send you a? Do you want the Zoom link? Because I want your take on this thing too. I want to talk about. I found out that Spotify has like your top 10 music lists, your top 10 most popular songs on at least on the desktop version. There, I was always concerned with the top 5, and there was it opened up a whole new world to me. So I found out, and then we started talking about classic rock, and then man, who can actually fill a whole top, like who would have 10 most popular songs that you knew all of them if you weren't like an active fan of theirs. And we started talking about Journey. We talked about Foreigner. That's, I Want to Know What Love Is. And then we got some of the ones that, so I kind of thought about it. It's top 10, it's the Contenders, top 10 contenders. Who do you think has 10 songs that, whether you love them and like, even if you're like, I don't love this song, but I know that this is like a fucking hit, or this is like, this gets people hyped. Like, I don't love every single Journey song, but I know that there's a couple that, even though I don't like them, that like, that's undeniable. Undeniable songs. That's what I'm saying. And so far, what we have of the contenders, and I'll have to go back over and actually re-contend them against each other so we can actually really narrow it down. But the ones that I have already are Foreigner, Journey, Red Hot Chili Peppers, Weird Al, and Foo Fighters. All of them have been established. They are in the running. I got a lot of qualifiers, and I ran through them. I'm sending you the link right now, bud. I got hold on a second. I will I have eliminated 1, 2, 3, 4 of the suggestions that I got from the last show. And so I'm really tearing through these. And I have excuses for each one of them, and I'm happy to talk about anybody if you want to try to like defend any one of these. I'm here for it. Like I said, I'm here to talk. I want to talk about this. I want to know what love is. Forever. All right. There we go. You have a lot of mutual friends, Ron. I didn't realize that. There you go. Sending it over. Let me start Zoom, right? I got to start it. All right. Close this out. So many multitask, yes? All right, there we go. We on. Gonna hit this live. So if you have any suggestions for other bands that you think have 10 Amazeballs hits, let me know. I'll put them in the running. I'm open to any artist. It doesn't matter. It can be anybody. So come with it. Okay? Come with it. So, the ones that I eliminated so far that were suggested were Nelly and Kid Rock. And the reason I lumped those two together is because Nelly and Kid Rock both went way too country. Way too country. So, here it is. Here's my guy. On mute. Bam, bam, bam. Pin video. How you doing, pal?
Good, Pat. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I got you up here. There we go. All right. I pinned your video. Let me pull you up here. Ron Kane is joining us. Let me go here.
Thank you for having me on.
Absolutely, dude. Thanks. Like I said, when you said that, my head started spinning, dude. I was just like, holy shit. Like, there's so many elements. And like the fact that you there you are. There you go, buddy. Boom, bam. There's my guy. Ron Kane's joining us. How you doing, Ron?
Good. Good, Pat. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. I was listening to the podcast, and you brought it up, and it was so casual too. Like, I love that you have a casual filth about you. That I just like. It's not. You say like you have like the dad joke thing. You know what I mean? Like you don't like. That's not a. That's true. Like you have that feeling, but like you're not. I don't think necessarily always just wholesome, but you have a casual filth about you. Is that accurate, you think?
Yeah, I would agree with that. Casual filth is definitely for me.
it's not
Um,
like a traditional like open micer like, oh boy, he's saying that shit. Like it's like that weird thing of like, oh no, he's comfortable talking about this. But like
yes.
this is not a normal like I feel like we connect on that way. Like we're not a good bar socially for like conversation for like topics. You know what I mean? Like when you're like, I have this thing for the show. So this lady, oh yeah, so like he wants you the one lady that said like I'll pretend. I don't want to give away the whole thing. I want people to go listen to your show for it
Thank you.
because but you when you talked about the one lady that was like, oh, I'll play dead for you or whatever it was or whatever, right? Like
Yeah.
what was it again? Like, I'll, what was the name of the show again? I'm sorry, I forgot about that.
The name of the movie is
A
called
movie,
Fantasy.
fantasy. Okay, and
Yes.
I don't know if I missed it or if I was just too excited about like when the topic itself. But remind me, is it a documentary or is it an acted film?
Now, it is an acted film,
Okay, good.
which is, I think it's even listed as a comedy.
Okay.
And,
Ooh.
you know,
Sorry, I just got a new suggestion for my top my artist list is Green Day. All right, I'll add Green Day.
yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah, that actually they may make it. I'm telling you, John. You know that. You know me and Green Day. But yeah, so the guy who falls in love with the building or anything like that. That I love that. So it makes me even happier that it is a fake story or it was a fake movie or whatever because
Yes.
that actually totally fucking happens. Have you heard it? Did you hear about that?
Yes. Yeah. I've heard about people being attracted to inanimate objects. Like when you were talking about people marrying that Knoebels ride.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've heard that. And
Is that like a is that so you're originally from PA, right?
uh, actually Baltimore,
Okay.
if
Okay,
if you want to
Baltimore.
get technical.
So, okay, so you're not like a cuz there was a thing of like I said, Chris was talking about it like there's a weird Florida vibe in PA that somebody from Florida coming from Florida to PA, I realized like this is a you guys are weird. You guys are comfortable again with the comfortable. What was it? The comfortable filth. Like you,
Yes.
the some of the subject matter here and some of the people here are definitely questionable, but like what is it? What's the word? Endearing. Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
Like they're it's almost like this like weird crazy mental illness, but it's like a man, you know, like oh you know oh shucks that's Jennifer or whatever she just married like I feel like they're just things that like they're topping each other, you know what I mean, like somebody ate
Yeah.
horse shit when the Eagles won the Super Bowl. This lady's marrying fucking like two different rides. Like I don't know if the second one, I would have to assume the second person that married a ride at Knoebels was like, oh, I want to be like, oh, I didn't first. I don't know if it's like a thing where it's like empowered. They're like an empowered person because like oh now we can do that, oh that's wonderful, or it's like I truly love this ride and I can be the person I am, or I just want more publicity like this person.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I think when you dig into that deeper, especially if you're marrying a ride, there is some severe mental illness there that probably needs to be addressed.
Right, and that's where you're like, okay, so now are we kink shaming? You know what I mean? Like now are we being when do we become closed-minded people, because I don't want to like how well would this podcast age years from now, because there were people I'm sure that were when you know gay marriage was first being discussed and stuff like that. Like I said, there are legitimately people were saying, but what's next, they'll marry animals and all this stuff, and you're like, no, I don't want to sound like one of those people. I don't want to sound like a person, like a closed-minded person. I honestly want to figure this out. Like, should we be open to people marrying rides and or buildings?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I've started doing a bit about, how it should be okay for people to marry animals. I mean,
Okay.
why not?
And I'm sure that go like I'm sure that starts out great. Like that starts, especially if that's how you started out too. Like, you know what? That's
Well,
awesome.
the first time I started it's based off of something one of my uncles said to me, like years ago when like gay marriage was really starting to become a thing,
Hmm.
and he was like, what's next? Are we going to allow people to marry animals?
Yeah.
And
And you're
it's
like,
like,
yeah, why not?
that's yeah. I mean, it's completely insensitive. But
Right.
on top of that, then I started thinking about it more and more. That statement. It's like, why, why?
Yeah. But and
And
that's
so,
like, yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, in some states, bestiality is still legal.
Right. Yeah, and that was
So
and like it was, or what was it? They would have sodomy or something like that is illegal, but bestiality is still allowed or something like that. It was like something and that's the kind of stuff where you're like, I feel like it literally does come down, and that's where consent is like that's a great bar to have to say like, hey, if the whatever you're wanting to put your dick in and or on can't say yes or no, then like then maybe it's not eligible,
yeah,
you know, maybe. But then we go to the sex doll thing, and you're like, this thing was specifically Westworld was the thing that really fucked with me. Westworld was the thing where like I'm like, I don't know if I'm necessarily rooting for the robots. Like I don't like just because they have consciousness. Like I don't want them to have to live the rest of their robot lives with what they've dealt with their whole life. I mean, they've seen the absolute worst of humanity, and now that you know what I mean. I only watched the first season, because the second season got like too real for me. It got like maybe I got too scared. I don't know.
yeah, maybe.
But
And you know that would happen because people are just terrible to begin with. So if you
yeah,
had sex robots, you would never want to know what a sex bot sees.
right. Yeah, and and that's what I'm saying is the idea of that, because I used to be that kind of person too, that like that thought like, hey, you should, if you want to, what's up, Ian, if you want to be a person that like has a fleshlight, has a whatever sex toys, like a with the pocket pussy. I don't know if there's like like a professional term for pocket pussy, but
Yeah.
fleshlight I think is it's like the new Kleenex, you know what I mean? Like you
Yes.
just call them all fleshlights now. But
Yeah.
like but at what point will that be considered like weird abuse or something like that? If these things ever become sentient, then you're like, holy shit, I've Westworlded like a ton of, you know what I mean? Because that's what you're doing. You're simulating human trafficking. So like if you're not cool with, like we talked about the sex doll thing, and how sometimes like I know that this was brought up a couple times on Buddha Boys, which is weird because I think that might be a red flag for Chris. But the fact that like pedophiles, they're ultimately it's an illness. It's kind of an illness in the sense of like you're not supposed to be attracted to that, and it's not socially acceptable to be attracted to children because it's
Yeah.
wrong, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they're like, well, maybe we should make sex dolls for pedophiles, and people go like, you know what I mean? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I don't want, and everybody's so it's just it's a thing that everybody's uncomfortable with, but nobody wants to address, and but essentially, but you allow regular sex dolls to be created, which is just essentially simulating human trafficking. You take them out of a closet, you untie them, or you take them out of whatever like containment you have them in,
Yeah.
and then you fill them full of things, and then you put them back. You know,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
wrong.
I agree that, like with pedophiles, people don't want to talk about it, and it's always like it's bad, which it is,
Yeah,
but uh, I definitely don't agree that you should be making them dolls because
yeah.
to me that just seems like if you start down that route, that just seems like a logical route, like a serial killer would
No,
go, because they normally start with small animals,
right.
then start building their self up.
And how do most athletes get better? They oftentimes simulate or drill a lot of their plays on inanimate objects. You know what I mean? Like they have that weird tackle thing that they push against and
Yeah,
stuff. You don't want them to like figure out, okay, is this about the weight of them? Okay. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like you don't make it realer for them. Let's try to make it like, hey, you know, maybe don't like let's try something else, bud. You know what? Why don't we try
yeah,
literally anything else? Because I feel like kids can consent too easily. Kids will consent by just saying like, "Oh, you have this thing, cool, thanks, we're in." Oh, Nintendo
yeah,
Switch, yup. You know what I mean? Like, you don't want that.
yeah.
So,
I gotta let my dog in. I'll
yeah,
be right back.
yeah, you're fine. Ian Strong in the comments here on Instagram Live says it'll never be as good as the real thing. That's true. That's absolutely true. No matter what you're simulating, good or bad, that's true, and that's unfortunate, obviously, because it proves the point that no matter what, even if you give them a simulation, in reference, or sorry, in in reference to, not reference, in reference to. I like words. Me too. There's strong words with Pat here too. Okay, um, I feel like you're ultimately just saying like, yeah, it's kind of like this. You know what I mean? It's like True Blood. It's like it's like you're gonna get to a point where you're like, yeah, but I've had this and now I gotta. There's always gonna be an upgrade. Yeah, then no matter what. Yeah, and but it is a thing. So again, it's where the judgment of inanimate objects or being in love with inanimate objects is. Like, where does that come down to? Like, where would you originally, or where would you ultimately come down if somebody was like, I want to marry uh your house, let's say? What would you say?
I'd say, I guess for the right price,
Right,
maybe.
and that's what I'm saying. And then that's the patriarchy, Ron. Now we're all the way back. You know what I mean? Like, it's crazy. Like, there's weird how you can take this whole thing and just kind of, and just eventually, I feel like I can find the bullshit part of any situation. And I think that's what makes a comic sometimes a comic, is just being like, yeah, but eventually everything's the worst.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah, it's a little bit of that for me. Like, like we were talking about, like talking about uncomfortable things. That makes I love when things are uncomfortable.
yeah,
Uh, I find it funny that when someone goes into a place like Excitement Video and someone is looking at those dolls now that
yeah.
they have, I can just imagine some guy looking at those, and then there's another guy that walks past them, just thinking to himself, "It's like that guy's a piece of shit for buying that." Then while he's walking to the counter with
Yeah.
just like the bottom part of a woman that you could
Right.
buy.
Right. You only have, so yeah, is he weird because he wants to buy the arms, legs, head, hair, and everything? Yeah, actually that is kind of weird. But either way, but it is no weirder than you just being the guy that like, no, 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 no. I just have the pussy and it's in a flashlight. You know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
that's weirder, fucking Ed Gein. Like, what the fuck? It's like making it's like making a fucking lampshade out of skin. Like, that's essentially, you're making it a practical, like, it should be, you should have to have a whole body and like lay it out and actually like bend it into position and stuff like that. It should have to be, that should be, because most likely you're not getting cardio elsewhere. If you're using a
Sure.
sex doll, you're probably not getting a ton of cardio in other realms of your life. Like, you're not gonna, because
Yeah.
otherwise that would be a social place that you could go and talk to people and have human interactions, and eventually, and again, see, now it's coming it back into judging. I'm just judging more, and I don't want to be this person, Ron. I want to be
No.
open minded, but I also don't know which lane I need to be open minded in. I don't know that we need to have these conversations, because we need to, otherwise, if somebody comes up and says, I want to marry your house, I'm in love with your house, and you're like, okay, so you want to buy it? No, 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 no. I'm not some weirdo. I'm not gonna,
Yeah.
because they love it. You know what I mean? Like, imagine if they're like, I love your daughter, and you're like, oh, do you want to buy it? You know what I mean? Like, they see it as a love object. You see it as a domicile, and
Yeah.
they're gonna say, well, I want to buy your domicile so I can, I think, have sex with it.
Yes.
Was that the basic gist of fantasy? Was like, he was ultimately found out that he. I mean, I guess you don't want to give it away, but
Well, the movie he liked, his thing was he liked, buildings was part of it because they were bigger than him. He liked things.
oh, okay.
He was attracted to things that are much bigger than him.
Have you heard of gigantism? Is that a thing?
I know the condition, like when someone can get gigantism.
Or wait, no,
I
okay, maybe I'm thinking of the wrong thing. I think it's where like people, like guys, like to be like pretend like they're like literally this big, and like a gigantic woman is like like stepping on them.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, I know there's like crush, somewhat
Crushing.
like
Maybe
crushing.
that's it.
Yeah, and but there are, there's those genres too where, very small guys like very large women, and
Yep.
they like to be crushed by them.
That's also Florida.
Yeah,
Go to
but
any Circle K in Florida. That's you'll see that.
and I think what's even weirder about the having like a doll or just any part like that. What happens if you're like if you bought just the bottom part of a woman and you went out and bought that today and you just brought it home,
Yeah.
and eventually Dom would come home, what would she say? Like, do we need to have a talk
Yeah,
about something?
what is this? Like again, and you want to be gentle, you want to be like, "Hey, but also like I just found a just an ass and a pussy and like the tops of thighs in the closet." Like
Yeah.
what what's up? You know, like exactly like you said, like what's going on here? Why would and like and then even things that like they vibrate and they do all these other things like I think if I ultimately and this is where it comes down to. This is where I want to try to humanize, like you said. You're at the store, you're at the same store. You're walking around, you have a different smut item in your hand and you're like this guy's a fucking weirdo. He's buying nipple clamps? Pfft,
Yep.
weirdo. But you have like a butt plug and you're like so it's like to me I want it to be like if you I forgot where exactly I was going with that, but it was just but essentially I want it to be basically it should be open enough that you don't judge them because I want to think that's where I was going. I ultimately want to identify and say like okay well if I were ever I have not been in the scenario where even where I'm like I need to buy a sex toy. I need to buy like a simulated vagina for my penis. So like and I'm lucky. I realize that. You know what I mean? Like all blessed to voodoo. I want I want it to be known though that I feel like if I was ever truly, I want to say this right now with hot and cold pussy on tap right now as Pat George, I can do it anytime I want. I mean, like, or she wants also. Truly feel if I was ever standing in front of the sex dolls, it was in that aisle, and I'm looking at them. I ultimately feel like before I go up to the register with one of them, I would be like, I need to go to like speed dating or some. I need to try like I need to do something else completely drastic before I hit this. Not saying that it's a bottom, but I think it would be my bottom because ultimately this is how I think of it. It would be too much. I feel like.
Yeah, I would agree with that too, especially as you're taking that, bottom part up to the
Yeah.
register and laying it down.
Plop, and it's like jiggling. You know what I mean? Like it just kind of like sits there and like okay, this
Yeah.
how much is this? You know what I mean? And plus, I would also want to get like a discount one, so I wouldn't get like a fleshlight. I would get like the one that has like made with like Nerf or something. You know what I mean? Like it would
Yeah.
be something way off, so it wouldn't feel right. You know?
May or may not contain sharp edges inside.
Yeah, exactly. Assemble. Yeah. Also, you have to assemble it yourself. You know, you got to put it together. Do you
Yeah.
have any bands, by the way? While I got you here, also, do you have any
Yeah.
bands that you think would qualify for like a contender? A contender band. I feel like what I'm actually gonna name it is. Do you feel like they have 10 hits, not like 10 songs that pretty much everybody, if not most people, would know or recognize, like as far as saying like, oh, people love this song. Like I don't love every Journey song, but like I know that people fucking love Don't Stop Believing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, if you're going like legacy, I would definitely say like Skinnerd is probably one of
Okay,
those bands.
I gotcha. Leonard Skinner. That was not brought up yet. Some bands that we did have brought up though. Hold on, Leonard. I don't even know how to fucking spell that.
I think they spell it with a Y,
Oh man,
Lynard.
there we go. Got him down. I also had added Green Day as well, but two like a couple that I had. These were the ones that I was going over. Uh, Boston, Nelly, Kid Rock, Primus. Those are the ones that I went over
Okay.
that I got to. So all ones like when you first hear them, you're like, yeah, I can kind of. Nelly, I was like, I don't know though, but I was like, Nelly, I feel like is going to be because anytime I see an artist that necessarily may not be a hockey fan performing at an NHL event, I'm like, they probably have enough hits that they could make a top 10 list, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Turns out,
Yeah.
I didn't realize Kid Rock and Nelly went the exact same lane. They're both just country artists now.
Yeah. It's well, I mean, Kid Rock makes sense
Yeah.
because he's got nothing else to do. And if you listen to country music, Kid Rock starting to make country music shows a lot about you more than Kid Rock, actually.
Yeah, I didn't even like that was the thing. It was like I didn't even get to a lot of the things that was just like feels like making love. Like that's not your song. That's one of a song that you did. That was so. Then I'm like, okay, well then who did feels like making love? That's the band that really qualifies because if Kid
That would
Rock,
be Bad Company.
Bad Company, not Good Company though.
Nope.
Okay, hold on. I gotta check out Bad Company. I'm gonna
And
add
I think Bad Company would count too, because not just because of Feel Like Making Love, but because
Bad
who was
Company,
it?
the name, the song.
Shinedown or Five Finger Death Punch covered one of their songs.
Really?
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, I'm gonna add Bad Company to it too. But yeah, both of them, they're like it's just like Kid Rock is they're both like and they're both like that new kind of country where it's like just pop. That's I'm not so much of a fan of that one, and that's fine. Look, when Country Grammar, like I know he's it's in the name, like that was his first album, Country Grammar. I get it.
Yeah.
He's from St. Louis for fuck's sake. He's gonna have some influence from that, but it's like that shitty pop country that's just like that's maybe that's the one and only thing that I like that's like kind of schlocky. But like '90s country to me is like peak country, like
Yeah.
not even ironically, boot scoot and boogie like shit like that garbage country like that's the country that I'm like that or back that and back I feel like is anything country
Yeah.
like anything after that and honestly if you're gonna be closed-minded of to a music genre it's got to be country, right?
Yeah.
That's the one where you can be like nobody's marrying fucking buildings and it's nothing's good after 96, all right?
Yeah. Exactly.
uh
Yeah. My wife. Uh,
yay.
she likes this pains me just to say it, but she loves that band Florida Georgia Line.
Oh, I think that's one of those bands, right? Isn't that one of those like? Oh, they have.
Yeah.
Oh, hold on. Because we do watch The Voice. That's the only reason I'm familiar with these bands. Don't they have a
Okay.
song? It's something. Ride with me. Is that it?
Yes.
Ugh, ugh, gross.
Yes.
Sorry, no judgment, but ugh.
Yeah, I can't say I'm a big fan, but last year they came to Hershey. So as a good husband, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to get my wife tickets to see this.
Okay.
Because, and they were the most expensive concert tickets I ever bought.
And you were really, really close, right?
Yeah, I had
Oh,
us
okay.
down on the floor. We had pretty decent seats. You could see everything. And it was such a different experience because I was so used to going to punk shows
Yeah.
and rock shows. Then going to a country show is, out of this world because for one,
Everybody's shooting
everyone's
you. You know.
yeah, well, everyone smells better.
Really?
Everyone yeah, it doesn't smell like guys' balls and sweat. It just smells like women that have gotten dressed up
Yeah.
for a night out
This is
because a
their
lot of
night
them are
out.
made.
Yeah, this is their night out. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, and they got the short shorts on. So I mean, for eye candy, it was great.
Yeah, it's like going
But
to. I was trying to think that too. Like at one point, I was trying to figure out who has, and not just women, but like who has the most attractive fans. What sport has the most attractive fans?
yeah,
And I was trying to think of like fans, and I mean fans that in the sense of in the stands. You see them at the games, not like
yes,
Tom, Jennifer Aniston really loves the Patriots. You know what I mean? Like not like that shit. I'm talking about like Jennifer Aniston's not going to be in the stands. So like,
yes,
and I was trying to think, and I think it ultimately came down to baseball and hockey. I feel like were had the most attractive fans in the stands.
Yeah, I could agree with that. You know, hockey for sure, baseball for sure,
Yeah, and
and
because
and
you
you know, football, they're just going to be horrific.
yeah, it's just gonna be the worst. Yeah, they're the worst looking, and then so that would be an interesting topic to find out what concerts you go to, who smells the best and or is the most attractive, because that makes sense that's their night out. They're gonna go out.
Yes.
They're gonna wear their best, clothes. They're gonna like, they got a sitter. They're gonna have a couple drinks beforehand. I always felt like that was like where like Girls Gone Wild kind of like the idea started, was those concerts.
Oh, it could have. I mean, they definitely like to drink, and yeah, like I said, the audience, the women there are so much better to be around than
Yeah.
any type of rock concert.
Yeah, I think so. I would have to assume. I went to see. I talked about it last time. I went to see Jerry Lee Lewis,
Yeah,
like the piano player, not Jerry Lewis.
yeah.
Jerry,
Wow,
the
how
guy who
old was he at the time?
he was ancient. Like he was like he. You remember the episodes of South Park where they did the Pope Ratzinger.
Yes.
Do you remember the Pope, like the one right before this, the nice Pope that everybody likes? The one that
Yeah.
is liking Instagram models' fucking pictures and shit like that. Did you see that?
Yeah.
His
No, no.
his I think his Instagram and or his Twitter account or something like that. The Pope's official Twitter or Instagram account liked this lady, this Instagram influencer lady's like big butt picture or something like that. And she was like in this mini skirt. It's kind of like a schoolgirl outfit, but not necessarily. Apparently, like it's pretty funny. And like once it became a story, like they took the like back. You know how like somebody that follows you
Yeah.
follows another person, and you can see when they like one of their pictures. That's what happened. And somebody was like, "What the fuck? The Pope like this? The Pope fucking like this?" So like, it's still unfolding, but we're talking that's nuts to me. I
Yeah.
love that shit. I love the fact that like, because that just makes it that much more, that makes him so much more likable. But getting back to my point, Ratzinger, their portrayal, South Park's animation of Pope Ratzinger is pretty much exactly what Jerry Lee Lewis looked like. He kind of like hobbled out, sat down, but sounded incredible, and it was him playing. Like they did eventually, they had like a camera on him and stuff like that. It was at some blues festival. It was like a ribs and blues festival. It's like some
Yeah.
Florida thing or whatever. But it was fucking cool as shit to see him. So I'll see pretty much anything. But that would be an interesting, because I don't go to a ton of other concerts like that. I don't go to different ones like that.
Yeah. Yeah. And that was the first concert in a long time that had been in like a stadium setting too. Because normally, like when I go see shows, I like a smaller venue,
Mm-hmm.
something like if I, probably big as I like is maybe like the 930 Club down in DC.
Okay.
Because
Yeah. Yeah.
that's a great place to see shows.
What was the best? What would you say, or what was the last band that you saw that you wanted to see?
Yeah. Well, that's a good question.
Like, because that's the thing. It's at this point. I think at an advanced age, a lot of times, especially if you're a punk fan, it's like few and far between, because you're like, I saw him a bunch when I was a kid, or oh, I'd like to see him again. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I went to see. We almost ditched it, but we went to see Black Flag in Lancaster forever ago. Not even forever ago. Like what feels like forever ago. It's probably like a year or two ago.
Yeah.
But like that was pretty cool. Like that was a weird one.
Which version of Black Flag was that?
I think there was, I believe the only original member was Dez,
Okay.
and it was, the lead singer was Mike Vallely. Is that his name? The
Okay.
skater guy.
Okay.
Yeah, and actually that's a really hilarious story that Dom and I were. It was in Lancaster, or no, it was in Reading. It was in Reading. That's what it was. It was, and we went there, and as on our way to Reading, it started pouring. We wanted to get something to eat ahead of time, so we stopped at Wawa. We drove past the club originally, and there was like no cars in the. There was like, half the parking lot was full. The club looked like fucking shit. I can't remember the name of the place, but the club looked like shit. It looked abandoned. It really did look like an abandoned club, and
Yeah.
so I was just like, fuck. I was like, I don't know, man. Like, And I had bought the tickets like months and months earlier, like as soon as they came on sale, and I was like, I don't know, I wasn't as motivated anymore. So we went to Wawa. We're like, let's get something to eat, and then we'll head back. So we got something to eat, and as we were walking in, Mike is fucking standing outside of the Wawa. So as I'm walking in, I'm like, hey, I was like, we're
Nice.
headed to the show. And he's like, oh, cool. Thanks, man. And I was like, that was it. I was just like, yeah, cool. Big fans, whatever. Walked in, got our sandwiches, came back out. He's still standing out there. And I was like, hey, if you need a ride or anything, because it was still pouring down rain. I was like, if you need a ride or anything, we're going to the show. If you want to ride or anything. And he's like, oh, no, I'm just waiting for some family. I guess he's from PA.
Okay.
So he was waiting for some family to pick him up. And I was like, okay, no problem. So we went to the car, ate. By the time we were done, was already picked up and everything. So we went back to the place, back to the venue, and we're like, and it still hadn't picked up at all. And I was like, I don't know. Do you want to just not go? And she's like, yeah, sure. That's my favorite thing about like the older I get is I love fucking breaking plans now.
Yeah.
It's my favorite thing to do is just to make plans and just go like, fuck it. I'm not doing that. It's great. I know I'm not the only person that loves that, but like it's even if I'm losing money somehow, I'm just like, it's not even the black flag that I thought it was. So so it's kind of like, all right, well, but so we went to Starbucks. When we went to Starbucks, we ordered. She goes to the bathroom. I'm standing at the end of the counter. I start walking towards the end of the counter to wait for my drink, and I see him sitting at the table with his family. And he looks up and he goes like, kind of gives me this like he recognized me, and I was like, fuck. And I turned around like, god damn, he's gonna think we're like following him or something. Like this is so weird. So we're like feeling guilty because we're like, he's gonna know that we're not at the show. We have to go. We've seen him twice now. You know what I mean? Like he thinks either we're following him, we're creeps, we're weirdos or something like that, or he feels like I don't know. We're just projecting all this shit. So we're like, we walk past him, and I was like, just don't look at him. Let's just not make this weird. Let's just walk past him. Get the fuck out of here. And we're walking towards the door, and he reaches out and he goes, hey, he's like, I'll see you guys at the show. Like he was playing it cool. He was being proactive about it. It's like saying like, hey, I saw you guys. Don't worry about it. You're not weirdos. I'll see you at the show though. And I was like, fuck, we have to go now. Like we can't not go now because he's gonna know. Like there's nobody there. There's
Yeah, he
nobody.
guilted you into it.
There's nobody at the venue. We told him we're going to the show. Now when we go there, he's gonna be able to scan the crowd and go like, hey, where's that? Where are they? Like he's got a visual. He knows it. So we go to the show. It was okay. Actually I found the second band that played that night or something like that was pretty great. Actually, I discovered a new band. That was pretty cool. And then
Nice.
I ended up we were standing in the crowd, and before Black Flag went up, he was walking through the crowd, stopped and goes, hey, you guys are here. How's it going? Blah, blah, blah. And it was like, good to see you again. Third time's the charm. Like, so I was like, I turned to Dom, and I was like, I said, it's a mirror. We're so lucky that we came, because otherwise he would find it. Cause I've seen Mike Vallely fight. I don't want to get on that guy's bad side. If he knows where we are, he's got a good visual. He probably got a license plate number. He would beat the fuck out of us. So I don't know. Black Flag, that was a whole experience, but it could have been ruined by being an old fuddy duddy. You know what I mean? Like, do you?
Yeah.
Obviously, you don't mix it up still in the pit or anything. But have you seen any bands recently that stand out, or at least not recently? Again, recently. Since March of last year.
Yeah. I seen Newfound Glory.
Okay.
I like Newfound Glory. I like pop punk. Not all pop punk, but I like them. And those guys are still killing it. When I've seen them live a couple times, and and they're just a great band. They bring it every time they play live.
Yeah.
And that's really what you want when you see a band. I think as I've gotten older and going to shows, it's not so much going to the show that I don't like. I just don't want to stand like shoulder to shoulder with people anymore. Yeah. And some big guy just kind of like sweating on you.
Yeah.
he just smells like body odor and fucking Budweiser. God knows what else.
I hate that. Yeah, that's not a thing that that's not a thing I missed at all. Like I don't miss
Yeah,
the like you said, like the pushing, like when you're standing closer to the front. I didn't do that a ton. I was usually a guy that liked to stay in the mouth of the pit, usually somewhere
yeah,
around the outside. But it would be a lot of times like where you're standing there and somebody would like just have their elbow in your back and they're just pushing, like that kind of thing, that driving kind of thing. I don't like it was shit like that
yeah,
where it's not I'm not gonna be the guy that I don't mind the being like smushed up next to people if we're all there for the same reason. Like,
yeah,
but oftentimes you're not. Like, so like I totally get that. But like, there's been a very few positive, I feel like, times where like that I can like I feel like a handful of positive times where I can think when I saw Refused, I feel like there was like a huge because everybody it was like the first show in their first tour since they broke up like 13 years before in the same town that they broke up, like all this other shit. Like so, like there's a whole bunch of like everybody there was like diehards. We drove like 8 hours. We drove from Florida to Georgia to see them. Spent the whole
yeah,
weekend there. Did the Walking Dead tour, all that shit. Like, so there's bands that you're for sure gonna make that experience. And I think those shows you don't necessarily care about that. But if you just go
yeah.
like, oh, I'm gonna go see Newfound Glory or Country or what was it, Florida Georgia Line.
It's Florida Georgia line.
You know what I mean? Like you're not gonna sit there. But those people you do want rubbing all over you because they smell good,
Yeah, yeah. You don't mind if they're rubbing on you.
right?
And it was funny to be at a concert too, where they did have seats laid out,
Mm-hmm.
and like the seats didn't disappear. Like, no one really sat down, of course, but it's just funny that they kept everything orderly,
Yeah,
and you can't do that at a rock show.
we did. We saw. I took Dom's a big fan. My wife is a huge fan of Brand New, the band Brand New,
Okay,
and
yep,
she loves. So we saw that. I think they were playing in Baltimore. Actually, it might have been Baltimore or somewhere Maryland esque, that area. I think it was. I feel like it was somewhere out there because they did have seats and stuff too. They had it was like a theater where they had like seats and stuff like that. But like everybody stood up. Again, there's no pit or anything like that. I don't know if there is normally at a Brand New show, but uh it was a cool show, but I did feel weird because I felt like their seats and they're not movable. Like they were just planted there. They didn't have
yeah,
like the removable seats. So like it felt weird to sit. It would have felt weird to sit, but I definitely felt like we could have all just sat down because like they're here. Like we like I don't know, but it's so against I feel like our especially coming from like loving punk bands or something like that. You barely stood still, more or less like fucking like just sat down. Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
I don't know.
yeah. And it does seem odd when you're sitting there, just observing a concert.
Yeah, yeah,
You just
it's so strange to do that. Like that's kind of that's why a lot of like the bigger bands like I don't feel like I connect to a lot of the bigger bands. Some of the bands that would be on this list that at a certain point you're going to be it's harder for you to connect with them because of how fucking far away you are. Like you're not
Yeah,
going you there is somewhat of an intimate thing that you need to have with a band to kind of have that thing. Unless they're a band like this. What's up, Lynn? That like you can connect to. So like some of the other bands that were on the list that I feel like people suggested that I definitely doubted was Talking Heads, Limp Bizkit, Linkin Park. I know Linkin Park. I know is going to have 10 songs. Linkin Park is
yes,
like that was crazy to me that I've never been a huge fan of Linkin Park, but I am familiar with probably every one of their fucking hits. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So like
yeah,
there's a weird thing that whenever I go see a band now, like I feel like all I do is watch them. But I
yeah,
still can't sit down. Like just out of habit or maybe respect or whatever it is, I just can't do the thing where like I sit down and just watch a thing even though they're just standing there really. They're just playing music. But when I go
yeah,
see athletes play, totally comfortable sitting down the whole time and just eating and drinking the entire time. I don't get
Yeah,
it.
when I seen Weird Al like 2 years ago
He's on the
when he
list.
was over in Lancaster, and uh, it was great because you just sat down the entire time,
Yeah,
and it was in that nice Lancaster theater where the seats are all cushiony. He's like, all right, this is a good time,
yeah. I would
and
love
that
that.
yeah, and that show was definitely for like Weird Al nerds because he was like doing like deep cuts on his album. I loved it,
Yeah.
and
He,
that was a great show just because I was able just to sit and relax. You didn't have anyone rubbing up on you and
yeah.
stuff like that. It was
That would be nice. That would be even better, like to see because again, Weird Al fans aren't the best smelling guys, or and
no,
ladies, I'm sure. You know what I mean? So, but Weird Al is definitely on the list, and not just Weird Al, but Weird Al in the sense of Weird Al's band, because
yeah,
that they're. I try to bring that up, like that point when it started when Manny on the most recent episode of Falls Count Anywhere, you'll hear all about it. He locked his keys in his house by accident when he went in to take a shit after work before coming over to record the podcast. He he so he was a little bit late. So Dom, Youngblood, and myself were all up here hanging out and listening to music. Somehow we got talking about like classic bands and like all time classic great bands and how we were not like I learned about Foreigner originally from Aqua Teen Hunger Force. Like this phenomenon was brought up to me. That it was shown to me that no you do love Foreigner, you just didn't realize it. So like
yeah,
there was an episode where the Moonanites have a special belt that that's like when you say the names of Foreigner songs, it makes that thing a super so when they say you're hot blooded or whatever, it kind of makes you hot. It if you're
yeah,
double vision, it makes you all all this shit. It's a hilarious episode. I'm not giving it enough panache, but it was one of those. It was the first time I ever realized when they started just saying the names of the songs that I was like, oh shit, I do love that song. Oh shit, I do. Like Weezer was another thing where I was like, I didn't realize how much I loved Weezer until I saw them live. So
yeah,
those bands, like those are the contenders. Like so, Foreigner was one of them. Journey is going to be one of those bands that they definitely have 10 hits. Red Hot Chili Peppers surprised the fuck out of me. I was like, holy shit,
yeah,
there's a couple songs on here that I'll add to my playlist. I had
yeah,
no idea. I didn't even realize, and not that I didn't know it was them, but I didn't know how much, like, I actually did like them. You know what I
yeah.
mean? And I think I think Leonard Skinner's definitely one of those because Sweet Home Alabama, Freebird, but then you're like, what's another one? Give me 3 steps.
Yeah,
That's another one that's
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
you
Two
know,
steps, I think it's actually called,
four
or
steps,
three.
maybe
Yeah,
12 steps.
yeah, something steps.
You know what I mean? Hey, as many steps as you need, Leonard. But
Yeah,
like that, there's those bands. I don't know, but I feel like there's an element
Weezer
to
is
this.
definitely a good one though,
Yeah, Weezer's
because
Weezer's on the list for sure.
yeah, because they're one of those bands where you're absolutely right, where they have hits, but a lot of their hits, like after Buddy Holly and stuff,
Yeah,
they're like minor hits, but they're still good enough where everyone knows them, and if you hear it, more than likely you're gonna leave it on.
right. And I feel like Boston was one of the bands that was brought up originally, and I was like, yeah, probably. And then I checked them out, and I was like, their third most popular song is Amanda.
Really?
Yeah,
Amanda.
that song
Yeah.
sucks ass. Like, there's like one of those things of like, first of all, I know the song, I guess, but I think
Yeah.
I didn't know. Yeah, I didn't know it was Boston, but I also didn't care and all that stuff. Like, so I think there's like 2 or 3 songs. Like, I got into it. I was not into it nearly. There wasn't that same factor of like, oh yeah, I actually love Boston. It was like this. People like this song. This is their third most pop. I just started judging Boston fans like I do in
Yeah.
hockey. That's the same thing.
Yeah,
Uh,
and you should judge Boston fans because when you learn more about that band, like the guitarist in that band, he's such a dick.
yeah, yeah. Is he
He,
really?
he's such a yeah, if you read interviews with him and because Boston's actually only put out like a handful of albums,
Yeah,
even though they've been together for like 40 or 50 years, whatever it is now at this point.
yeah,
But I've read interviews with him, and he's just a dick because he's like, yeah, when we record, I have to do like all these different tracks. That way we can have the sound exactly right. It's like you're just making a fucking rock song. Get over yourself.
Yeah. Don't. It's not too precious here. Like you can't have that. And I noticed that too because I like each one of these things. This show, since I've been doing the live episodes, I wanted to do more prep and have more things, and it kind of inadvertently turned into me just kind of educating myself on a lot more things. So I
Okay.
realized I'm learning more about like these bands. I'm learning I got my words of the days and all that stuff. But like the thing with Boston is I feel like I'm doing the research here. Boston, you're right. Like they do have like a handful of albums. Most of the songs are off of one out, like their best of or their most popular. You guys just like that album. They had one album, and there aren't 10 good songs on it. So like
Yeah.
that's the problem with that. I feel like is like you can't and that's the point is like they have to have a body of work spanning an amount of time that's going to give them like because of you again a lot of the ones you're looking at really surprised me. I went over Primus was another one that was suggested, and
Okay.
to them it just gets so fucking old with me by one song. I'm like there's none of them that are going to surprise me because Les Claypool and his wonderful Jelly Band or whatever the fuck one of them is called, and then the wonderful Willy Wonka
Yeah.
other Primus band. They're all just Primus. They're just Primus. Every one of them
Yes.
is Primus. So there's not one song that I'm like, oh fuck, I didn't know Primus did that one. You know what I mean? Every one of them, I'm like, oh yeah, there's that bass. There he is. Oh, he's saying something weird about cheese. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like,
I was never a big Primus fan. They're very hit or miss for me.
mhm.
And the thing with the problem I have with Primus is it's not the fact that they're not good. That is three very talented musicians
Right.
who happen to make music together. And but like Les Claypool, I mean, the guy is super talented.
Mhm.
He's just like way up here creatively, and you can tell that because a lot of the music just isn't that good
Yeah, it's
to
just
listen
him.
to. But technically, the way he's playing, it's like phenomenal and stuff that he's doing, but
Yeah.
that doesn't translate into a good song necessarily.
It doesn't translate into art, I don't think necessarily. Like yeah, like
Yes.
technically yes, you're making interesting music, but it's also like it all just kind of sounds like Nickelodeon like songs. Like it just sounds like songs like if you took the lyrics out, you could use it for like like Nickelodeon B-roll or something like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there's like I there's and it's not that it's not fun or cool. Like it's fun. It's a but they would be a lot of these bands like it sucks because like they get categorized a lot of times by as like these all-time great bands or something like that that are prolific or super prolific or something like that. Like Boston was brought up in the same like I'm almost insulted for Journey and or Foreigner or any of these other bands where like to be like you're even mentioned like you mentioned Boston in the name of like you know what I mean like that kind of thing. Primus is not necessarily that. I'm not insulted. I love what they're doing, but it just doesn't. I don't think it translates to this thing of like, oh yeah, that would be one of those like, oh man, I didn't realize how many Primus songs I liked. I know the ones I like. Winona got a big brown beaver, whatever the fuck it is. Jerry was a race car driver. My name is Mud, and then like one or two handful of other ones where I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. But like for the most part, it's just kind of the same song over and over again.
Yeah. Yeah, my favorite song by Primus is probably when Winona's Big Brown Beaver.
Yeah, it's fun. It's cool. Why don't gonna
Yeah.
bring group like yeah, but that's what it is. Like it's not fun to sing along with. It's fun to listen to, but it's fun to just because I don't know what the fuck he's saying. I actually love my favorite part about that is actually the drums in that song. I love the bass drum in that song.
Okay.
It's really cool. Next time you listen to that. Oh no, wait, no, that's I'm thinking of Jerry was a race car driver. That's the one I was thinking of, where it's like it's just it's cool it's cool to see the way that they see music. That's a cool part of
Yeah.
it. That's like
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying is like they take the art out of the of the feeling, and they put it all into the music. So I do appreciate that. They
Yeah.
make it that part like, but it's after a while it's like, okay, I get it. You know what I mean? Like I'm not like, oh cool, let me find another one. Like with Weird Al, we just kept saying songs that were like, oh yeah, fuck, I forgot about that. Oh fuck yeah, you know what I mean? Like Primus to me
Yeah.
doesn't have that. So like I said, I still got some work to do. I got Talking Heads, Linkin Park, Limp Bizkit, and Styx that I still got to go over from the original ones, and now Bad Company, Leonard Skinner, and Green Day. Green Day, I think it'll be interesting to find out because I'm going strictly by Spotify's list. I want
Yeah.
to keep it pure, like to say like, okay, well, I know that you can kind of get a Billboard top list or most selling records or whatever, anything like that, but this to me is just about the art of like the oh yeah contenders. I guess that's a good way to put it. Oh yeah
Yeah.
contenders. What are some oh yeah contenders? I got to write that
Yeah.
down.
I would say I'd probably say Billy Joel is probably one of those guys too.
Oh, okay, yes. See, Billy Joel is a perfect one because I think Billy Joel is one of the bands. I don't think I realized he did. Fuck, which one? I get him and Elton John mixed up all the time. Like their songs. Like if I remember,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
if I'm thinking about like one of them did Piano Man, and I'm like they're both Piano Man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Billy Joel.
Yeah. Yeah. I think Joel is just a little more, I guess, bluesy, I
Okay.
guess, more of like kind of the downtrodden piano player.
I like the I might be what's the joke from Step Brothers? We only do doo-wop Billy Joel.
Oh yeah.
I like doo-wop
We
Billy Joel.
yeah, we only do like Billy Joel from 1980
We
to
only do
present or
80s
something.
doo-wop Billy Joel songs. That's all we do.
Yeah.
Right? He does
Yeah.
that song. That's probably on there. Billy Joel's a good one. I think that might be a contender, my friend. I think he's going to be a contender, my friend. Oh, he's going to be a contender. I might add Elton John on there too.
Yeah.
Because
And
honestly, I got to
if you want
mix
to
them.
get deeper, like legacy wise, especially when you're talking about songs that you don't know,
Mm-hmm.
I would say Dolly Parton would be on that list.
Yeah. As far as, are you talking about as performing or writing? Because I know
Uh,
she wrote a ton of songs that were like she wrote "I Will Always Love You," right?
yeah, it's kind of both because a lot of those songs that she wrote, she actually performed first, but
Yeah.
she wrote those songs herself. She's kind of crazy how prolific
Mm-hmm.
she has been throughout her career.
Yeah. She that might that absolutely could be the one that could be one that was like a like oh yeah artist for sure, but like definitely like a like you said prolific in the sense that you have no idea what they're responsible culturally like what they're responsible for culturally. I mean,
Yeah,
so I
and as much as it pains me in like the modern era, I you could even say Taylor Swift should probably be there.
well I'm gonna hold out on that one just for the time being,
Yeah,
just in case because that was the thing is I don't mind like a popular song or something like that, but that's why I added like Linkin Park because I feel like Linkin Park has the ones where you're like I think everybody has the ones that they think about, but then you're like, oh shit, like what was the something like I did not like Linkin Park at all, and then they at all like I didn't dig them even a little bit, like even respect them, like and
yeah.
then they did the fucking what's that something about deeper and you throw it away or whatever the fuck it is.
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
That's
whatever that one is. I don't know what it is exactly, but it's that's like there's a couple of those songs that I feel are uh surprising ones. Like I think Red Hot Chili Peppers surprised me with that shit like where I was just like, "Oh shit, I forgot when that came out." I was like, "Damn, okay, that's a pretty good song." You know what I mean? So,
yeah,
I think that's the key point. That's what makes them all contenders is the fact that there's going to be a song in there that you're like, "Fuck, oh man." Like when I went over Foreigner, I was like, "Hot-blooded." Uh uh Cold as Ice.
yeah.
Fucking like what was the other one? My Love.
Foreigner is yeah, Cold as Ice.
My Love, I think, or something like that. There's just like there's a couple of them where I was just like, fuck, like these are all like hits, but like
Yeah,
they all are responsible for these songs. Like these are all
Yeah.
humongous hits that you'd be like, oh shit, I do like this song. And also, that was another one that was fun playing that game. I always play this game with Dom, where I see how long a song can play before she's able to guess it. So like a lot of
Okay.
times, like so, Hot Blooded was one where I was like, you got to get it before the guitar riff. If you don't get it before the guitar riff, it doesn't count because as
Yeah.
soon as it goes,
Yeah.
and again, not the best song ever, but songs that you're like, oh fuck, if this comes on at the store, you're singing along or whatever. Undeniable. Oh yeah, Contenders. I feel like is a great way to put it. Nelly
Yeah.
really disappointed me. I really wanted to be surprised by Nelly,
Oh,
but
kind of a dark horse in there would probably be
I
like
wanna
I don't
know
know.
what love is. Like what the fuck?
Uh,
Sorry.
yeah. What about the police?
I would, yeah. I don't know how many of those I would forget, like how many of those I don't know offhand, but I'll add them on there just because. Either way, I want to get like just like in fighting, there's a pound for pound, goat kind of conversation going on at all times, like in whether it be mixed martial arts, boxing, anything
Yeah.
like that. That's cool, but I don't really. I feel like anybody can have a lucky punch. Like I think anybody can catch somebody on a bad day.
Yes.
All you need to be is and a lot of times legacy is definitely determined over time after how you respond to adversity and stuff like that. But like bands like this, I feel like it's so much harder to make a song like that where you're an artist where I feel like if you stop 20 people on the street, like 19 out of them are going to either know, love, or at least like one of the songs in that top 10 list. Like it
Yeah.
so much so that they're going to be singing it later on that day. Not just get stuck in your head, but you like that song. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I may not always agree with the order of the list, but I feel like if you got to be honest. Like Journey, I wanted to say like no. When somebody said Journey's better than Foreigner, I was like, come on. I was like, fuck. You might be right. They're at least even, if anything,
Yeah.
minimum. So I don't know. You know?
Yeah. Oh, hey, I did look Boston up because it was just driving me crazy.
Yeah.
They've only released 7 albums. So fuck you, Boston.
Yeah, fuck you, Boston. 7 full-length albums. More like
And
losers.
they've been together since 1975
Right.
and 7 albums.
Not very prolific.
Because the guitarist is a dick because like, yeah, I gotta get everything right. This album's gonna take 5 years. It's like,
More
dude, you're playing AED.
yeah.
Let's move on.
Fucking Les Claypool has more strings on his bass than Boston does albums. That's
Yes.
what it seems
Yeah.
like. That's what they do not have. There is more like there's always that fun story that I feel like every time Les Claypool comes up, I always think about that fact that I learned forever ago that he auditioned for Metallica. Did you hear that?
Yes.
That was like one of those stories where I was just like, man, I still would. I don't know if they've done that. I wish either one of them, because I feel like Les Claypool, as silly as a person as he is, I don't think he would be as cool as to have him. I like to say like, yeah, I'm just gonna go jam with Metallica, or I'm gonna be on the, you know what I mean, like something like that. Like I feel, I don't know,
Yeah,
man.
and they
They like have some fun. Like, why don't you go out there and like you come out and play with Metallica and you do a couple Primus songs because everybody in the crowd will know those songs too. They all know Primus. You
yeah.
do Primus songs and you do a couple Metallica songs or something like that, or cover a couple. Like, do a split, dude. Like, how is that not happen?
Well, according to Metallica, their reason they didn't bring him on because he was too talented. They were like,
Oh
this
yeah.
guy is way beyond us, like anything he could do. Because I remember seeing that interview, and like when they brought him in, James Hetfield,
Mm-hmm.
like, was talking to him, and he said, this guy just comes in and he's like, all right. He's like, they said, well, here's the song. He's like, well, do you want me to play that? Or, I can play that. Then if you want, I can go into some Isley Brothers or something like for you. And they're like, what is going on here? And I think James' quote was like, he was too talented.
Yeah, I could totally see that because there's not a lot that you can do with like with Metallica. Like when I was like, oh yeah, they have a bass player, cool. I don't really pay attention to that much. Like with Metallica, when you think about it, you think about the guitars. Like you don't think about the bass guitar necessarily, and
Yeah.
and that was the thing. Even though I really wanted to play bass, like growing up, like that was the instrument I was drawn to that I wanted to take up. I still had like a strong thing of like, yeah, but what does it really do? Like, what is like who really knows anything about like what is bass? And like somebody explained it to me. They're like the backbone of the band. They're rhythm, like they're the rhythm of it. You like the fact that they don't stand out necessarily is them doing their job perfectly. Is them saying
Yes.
like here's the framework for the song, them and the drums, and then guitar just kind of jazzes up with the vocals. Like they have more
Yep.
freedom, and it's like, oh fuck, you know, like when music is like explained like that, you're like, oh shit, that totally makes sense of why they would say like, yeah, we just need you to go like you know,
Yeah.
like we don't need all that. Thanks less.
Yeah.
But why don't you start a band and call it Primus? Yeah, we came up with a name. You know what I mean? I don't know if like that, but I still would love to see them try something now. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. It definitely would be interesting. Do you have AC/DC on your list?
Actually, I do not. Do you think that I guess they would have do you think they would have 10 though?
I think so. I
You think
mean,
so?
Back in Black, Shoot to Thrill, uh, the song about the crabs,
Yeah, balls. I like
Big
the ball
Balls,
one.
Thunderstruck, Mistress for Christmas. Uh,
Oh, okay. All right.
and there is more there. Shoot the Thrill. I already said that.
I already said that one. All
Yeah,
right. Okay.
there is 10 there, I think,
All right.
easily.
Well, let me hold on. Let me add them to the list. I wanted to do a little production here there while you're talking, and I'm gonna add. I just actually while we were talking, I added Metallica as well. I got a bunch added here now. AC/DC. So there's a see AC/DC is one of those ones where like they may have hits, but actually you know what? You're right because literally the description I just gave about like finding 20 people on the street playing them these songs, they're gonna know or love at least one. Like Shoot to Thrill. Fuck. What else did they? I know that they've done like. You know what? Actually, that might be a tough one. I'm gonna actually. That's a good one. I'm really excited about ACDC because Metallica. I feel like is one of those ones where like everybody kind of fucks with Metallica a little bit, like
It,
somehow.
yeah, I would say though AC/DC definitely is beyond that because they've been featured in Marvel movies. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, for hell, like anything
Yeah.
that has to do with like drinking or like getting fired up.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's another one. Drink on me. Have a drink on me.
Have a drink on me.
Yep.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
and AC/DC is smart because those guys never change their formula. And so you could play 20 seconds probably of the beginning of any song just to anybody on
Okay.
the street, and
Yeah.
they'd probably be able to tell you what the song is.
Yeah. Just like Hot Blooded, you would know as
Yep.
soon as burn, and you're like, oh, I know that from that Whopper commercial, or like you
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like you know it from something like that. Like I said, I like I'm again not the best bar for most things, but for Journey especially, I was like, oh, what's the one? Forevermore. Like I was just like, yeah, I get it. I like that one. It's whatever. But when fucking
Yeah.
any way you want it, that the way you need, when that comes on, I'm like, fuck yeah. Like I
Yeah.
love car commercial songs. That's me to a T. That's like I will give me Hot Blooded, give me any of those. Like, but if you're getting into the ballads and shit, I'm like, oh fuck. Like, like damn it.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah. Because I think on if you went up to somebody on the street, 9 out of 10 people, if you would just play like 10 seconds of Back in Black, they would know what that song is. Just hearing that riff, just that,
that one,
they
right?
would know
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I think you're right. I think that's a really good point. And I wanted to, while I got you here, we can close up. I don't know if you have any kind of like restraints or anything like that about time or anything. We just gotta.
I'm good. I haven't gotten any emails, so I'm
Oh,
good.
hell yeah, good. Because I wanted to get into. I don't know if you've. I know you've been somebody that's been participating along in IG Live and stuff like that. I do appreciate you joining the show today. I wanted you to help me. I don't know if you would like or not. Maybe you can help me with today Pat's word of the day.
All right.
All right. So today's word. So I don't know. Monday's word was kind of underwhelming. I feel like it's basically the word literature, but with one of those little fucking like lines over the e, and like you
Oh,
took one of the
the
t's.
tilde.
It's like
Is that a tilde?
it's a lita. Is that what it's called? A tilde?
I think it's a tilde.
I said umlaut, but I knew that wasn't right. Umlaut's the two dots, right?
Yes.
Something like that. Either.
Tilde is the little squiggly line.
Okay. Okay. So yeah. Oh no, it's not a squiggly. It's just like a. It's like a comma, but up here. You know what I mean? Either way,
I'm like, okay.
it's just like a fan of literature. Like you're a fan of arts and literature. Like cool. Like a literature. Like that's you just say literature a little bit different. I didn't like it. But today's word, let me tell you, it is a doozy. And
Okay.
I'm gonna spell it for us, right? Pat's word of the day today. This one's a doozy. It's we're gonna both try to say it. I'm gonna say it probably way worse than you, but it's a CHRESTOMATHY. I'll say it again slower. CHRESTOMATHY. Do you want to go first or second?
I'll go second.
All right, good. Because I wrote it down earlier and I was like, I'm just gonna go phonetically. I think it's Christoph fuck Christoph nope Christomathy. Nope, I added too many. Yep. This is hey, it's all part of it. I'm trying to learn. Do you want to
Yep.
try?
Yeah.
Did you write it down? Did you have it? Do you want me to spell it
Yeah,
again?
I want to make sure I have it right. CHRES.
Mm-hmm.
And it was TONY.
Yep. TOMATHY. Christomathy? Christothemy?
Yeah.
Christomathy.
My wife just brought me. She was saying it's Christomathy.
Crestomathy.
Cresto.
Are
Cresto.
you familiar with it, or is that your guess? Okay, that's her
That's
guess too. Hell yeah.
yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna say Crestomathy. I'm with her. Crestomathy. All right, let's try it out. Let me see. I do. Okay, so we do have the actual official word here.
Okay.
Let me figure it out. All right. So first of all, it is a noun. Its origin is Greek, mid 19th century. It's a selection of passages from an author or authors designed to help learning a language. Let's find out.
Christomathy.
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 Did you hear that? Hold on, one more time.
Christomathy.
Christomathy. See, these are not very fulfilling words this week. The words that I'm getting this week are all about literature, and I've established. I thought word of the day. If you're listening to me, I didn't sign up for word of the day. Somehow someone decided that I should be learning a new word every day, but decided it should be a different language every day apparently, which is cool. I like that.
Yeah.
But like we're learning one French word and then one Greek word and then one Spanish word, like eventually I'm just going to sound like a fucking crazy person.
Well, to make you feel better, Pat, just think if you have one person that is an English lit major out there, you probably made their day because
Okay.
now they had something to talk about.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, now they're like, oh, they're talking about Christomathy on fucking. See, yeah, this is gonna be a hard one. Literally, the first word of the day was andragogy, which I was like, what the fuck is that? And it turns out it's the word for educating adults. It's
Okay.
it's all about
adultification.
It's very
Yeah.
important to adulticate yourself. So I don't even know how to fix this one. This one last time it was just a different word with a little squiggly and some less letters, and now it's just Christomathy. I don't like it, Ron. I'm very upset with this word.
No, that sounds like a meth head trying to tell you that they do meth, but just in a fancy
You
way.
know what? Yeah, you know what? Yeah. You know what Christomathy is? It's fucking. It's the time. I don't know if you guys have this at your gas stations here or maybe in Baltimore, but a lot of times it's the math that they're doing where. So I have my car broke down. It's in two towns over, and my daughter's in the car, and I need to get back there by 7 because I have a job interview, and you're like 7. You have a job interview after 7 o'clock at night. Where? And also you left your daughter, like I'm doing that Crestomathy in my head going like I either you're just a terrible person or a liar. Like
Yeah.
there's no getting around it. I think you left a 3-year-old in on the side of the road because you needed to
Yeah.
come here to get gas money. What the fuck are you talking about? So yeah, Crestomathy definitely sounds like the thing you have to do when dealing with a Crestomath head.
Really.
Oh man, it's fucking crazy. Can't we go back to a simpler time where we're just talking about sex dolls and marrying theme park rides? You know?
Yeah, when times were simple
Oh,
instead of pandemic and terrible words that no one's using.
terrible words. While I got you here, actually, Ron, just real quick,
Okay.
how did the Zoom podcast go last night? How'd that go?
Yeah, it was fun. We just kind of opened it up. We had a total of like 7 or 8 people join us.
Nice, nice, nice. That was awesome. Yeah, I saw
Yes.
that. I saw that thing. I really like that idea. It's not unlike having like a kind of like a Zoom comedy show kind of thing. And it's like it's the same idea. Did you have like a game or something planned, or was it just literally like because it was in the just to give everybody a little bit of what is it called?
Context.
That's it. Couldn't even think of the word. See, you give me one bad word and it replaces a word that I actually knew how to use, and like I don't like that. But yeah, context to the thing. The DNR podcast, Damian Robinson and Ron's podcast. We also Ron as well during the before times, and then also some of the middle times that we've been in as well. Uh, has been running Wonderful Mike in the Rec Room in Lancaster, and
Thank you.
also basically wherever you can as well. Um,
Yes.
and was temporarily put on a hold as of right now, but also um, you guys had we have a group chat for said podcast or not podcast, sorry, open mics that we would do,
Yep.
and you invited a lot of the everybody in the chat to come in. And honestly, at first I was thinking, oh man, it's gonna be like the group chat, but on the show. Like it's gonna be this just kind of jumble of things. So I didn't know actually. Were you able to like kind of corral people and everything, or is that gonna
Yeah.
be? Is it releasable? I mean,
Yeah. Yeah. It will be. I'll probably have to go back and edit some stuff out.
yeah, sure.
Because there was a couple of drags here and there.
Hmm.
Uh, no, overall, it went pretty good. I thought, maybe it would descend into madness. There were a couple times where people kind of talked over each other,
Hmm.
but we got it figured out. It was just more of at first getting the rhythm down and kind of just leading everybody, and we kind of went around.
Yeah.
I kind of just went around like that,
Are you trying
and
to? Is that something that you're trying to do, like going forward? Like maybe eventually have fans or something like that, or listeners like join in and stuff like that, or is this just something you guys were trying out?
uh, kind of both. We wanted to try it out. We wanted to see how it went. I didn't want to. We didn't want to do like a regular, like, oh, we're gonna do a Zoom mic, because me personally, I'm still not a fan
Yeah.
of Zoom mics or anything.
Yeah, they're
But
very
I,
underwhelming. Yeah.
yeah, but you know, I think it's important for at least our little community, and especially with it seems like we're going to definitely be locked down at some point here soon again.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to keep people together,
Yeah.
just to keep our group together, to keep people talking, and we may do it more, especially as we're going into winter. I sent out I set up a call, kind of like this, just to have open again on Thanksgiving night at 8 o'clock, just just to give. It's like it doesn't mean you have to show up for the whole 2 hours. I just want to have a call open because I know some comics, they have very shitty families.
Yeah.
Maybe they're at home by themselves on Thanksgiving,
Yeah.
and you hear all this shit like family, or because they're telling you don't get together, and people aren't getting together. I just want to have something out there, so at least maybe if someone's having a real shitty day,
Yeah.
maybe they can say to themselves, you know what? I know at 8 o'clock I can go on and talk to some of the people that I see on a regular basis and fucking vent and
Yeah.
just get out there.
That's awesome. And I think that's what I like about that feeling, because I did the same, like I did that idea of basically that, look, whatever your situation, there's a space that you can go to. Like I like having that thought, or that area, that not I hate to use the words like safe space, but kind of thing, but literally a place where you can go hang out with people that are not just an echo chamber for you, but like people that aren't as abrasive in that context or whatever. Because or don't judge you as much, because I thought that with I did the same thing. I suggested to my mom last time I talked to her on the phone. I suggested, I was like, "Hey, would you guys be interested? Maybe we can do like a Zoom like Thanksgiving." She's like, "Zoom Thanksgiving," and was like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" Kind of thing. Like that's her thought, and I was like, "Yeah, well, we live in Pennsylvania." Like, so we also, this would have been a nice thought if I suggested to you last year. You know what I mean? This should have been a nice thought of like, hey, we should all eat together at the same time. We can do it over Zoom. Like, this is, like you said, you're showing somebody you can actually reach out or communicate or get that interaction with people besides just having to be there with your family or something like that. Like, you can have the family you choose as well. And even though people are maybe conflicted about like, should I actually go do things or not? I don't think a lot of people are conflicted about it. I think a lot of people are pissed off that people are telling them what to do. And I think there's a lot of people, but it's also like, it's supposed to be for the greater good, and you just have to assume that. Like, we're almost there, guys. Can we just fucking try, please?
Yeah, and I think in this group there is a very good, strong set of core comics that they're they're into it. They
Yeah.
like that we're doing this, and that's why I try not to be, but that's why I'm sort of a Nazi on the group chat and tell people like, don't fucking post videos in the group chat
Yeah.
because no one's gonna people will mute that stuff eventually if you're going to keep sending just dumb things.
Yeah, I haven't muted it yet, and actually, that's a huge accomplishment for me, because I either try to delete or mute most group conversations that I'm in. So, like,
Yes.
I have not muted it yet, and I wouldn't necessarily refer to. You don't necessarily. I don't think it's that. You're more of a curator. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not that you're saying like you can't do that, because a Nazi would be like, one strike and you're out. You're gas chambered. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like you're more of a person that is saying like, hey, there's a reason why. It's not just this is the rule because dad said so. It's you need to do this because this, like, we already annoy each other enough by like just fucking around with each other. We can't have this thing where like you're trying to turn it kind of into an echo chamber, and not in a, like, everybody, there's no rule fucking to what anybody's doing anymore. And now that everything's changing and shifting anyway, and nobody knows what the fuck we're doing. I started doing this just because I'm like, for that same reason, the same reason you're talking about, of like, I want this to be, if we can't all do stand up, there needs to be some kind of creative outlet for people. So like, if people want to join the show and talk along and work out a fucking bit, you want to talk about bands, let's talk about sex. Like, dude, I did not have sex dolls anywhere on my prep sheet here. But like, we started almost the first whole fucking half hour of the show, if not hour of the show, talking about that. And that was influenced by the art that you put out. Do you know what I mean? Like, stuff like that. So having this kind of thing of like, this is the literal interpretation of what I've been trying to convey, of like, the rising tide raises all ships. It's the same idea of this being like, and what you're trying to do with not just the mic, but also with things like that, of like saying like, hey, if you also just want to hang out and just talk on Thanksgiving, we can just do that too. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like it doesn't have to
yeah,
be
and I feel it should be that way. And that's like the other day I was putting out there in the group chat, like, hey, the writing is on the wall. There is a lockdown coming somehow,
right.
and it's going to affect us no matter what. Who knows how it's going to be? Like, if that does happen, and we go to do like a mic over Zoom, it shouldn't be the format shouldn't be the traditional mic, like, oh, I'm going to go here and work my jokes every week.
Right.
Now I just feel as comics, like, if we're going to do something like this, we got to think differently and tell people to keep it interesting and to keep people like vaguely interested and motivated. You need to bring a new set every week and just try it.
Yeah.
And who gives a shit if every joke fails? The point is, you're trying it. It should make you a better writer.
Mm-hmm.
You'll see where your strengths are, where your weakness is, and it's okay if we fail in front of each other, because that's what you want to do.
Oh, that
You need
reminds
to
me. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, my last thing I was gonna say is like, because if we fail in front of each other, and that's where you want to fail instead of at a show.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you want to make sure, because that was a thing that I realized, like, not like probably a lot later than I should have, was the fact that like you shouldn't necessarily worry about killing at an open mic. You should just worry about, like, if you do well, like, great, that's cool, but like it shouldn't
Yes.
be it shouldn't be, and the same for the same reason, if you go up and you do terribly, you need to realize, like you said, get it out here. Like, this is where you learn how to make it not terrible. So
Yes.
like, it's kind of, you're just doing your job. Either way you're
Yes.
doing your job, whether you succeed or fail, you're working at it, which means you're doing your job. So the same idea, you should have some new stuff every time, because you should be working on something new, but also work on something new is also subjective, because it could be, that was the thing I thought of, was, I think I missed the first part of it when you guys were talking about, I think you guys were referring to the guy at the Zone. Was there an issue that you guys had with that dude at the, was it Scott? What was his name again? Is that the guy you guys were talking about at the podcast just recently?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
It
because
was.
I had
It
no
was the guy
problem
that.
with him, but I think Damien had a problem with him, right?
Yeah. It kind of started when Mike started the mic. He was talking to that guy,
Yeah,
and that guy was doing a little bit. Then as it went on, then by the time Damien got up there, he wanted to address it.
right.
And that's when that guy was, he started dropping the N word and stuff. I think the
Oh,
set
okay. See, that's the part I
before.
missed. I was like, when he was saying like he was racist and stuff, I was like, wait a minute, and that was the thing, because I remember I had an interaction with that guy too, and it was like he was like talking about aliens and shit, like, and I was just like, fuck yeah, this guy is,
Yep.
he because I remember thinking that too when Mike went up there and started the show, or started the mic. He was like, he addressed him, and I was like, that guy's gonna make this about him. He's gonna make it about him. And I was just like, here it comes. You know what I mean? And like when everybody went up there, it started happening. But every interaction was like was happening the exact opposite of what I thought it would be. Because every time it
Yeah.
was just this cool interaction, and then he knew when to shut up. He knew when to participate. Like, he was actually kind of the perfect audience member, at least up to the point of when I went up. Then
Yeah.
apparently, if he's dropping N bombs and shit like that, I'm like, oh fuck. Well, then he's like second best. You know, I don't know, but
Yeah.
like, you know what I mean? Like, you're kind of like, oh shit, like, because everybody was I think everybody was waiting for that shoe to drop. Everybody was waiting. So I was surprised. I thought for sure. Again, it was my own perspective, but it was like literally me going up there, having my interaction with him, and going like, he's not that bad, and then going like, see ya, and then later on like finding out, oh, he's racist, and like he's all this other shit. I was like, holy shit, he's dropping N bombs. What the fuck?
Yeah.
So it's very interesting. So listen more astutely than I to the most recent DNR podcast for more perspective, because I missed that first part, and I was like, I'm sure I'll talk to him again sometime soon. I wanted to find out what exactly, but I don't doubt that's an issue. But I was surprised to hear, because usually when you deal with something like that, it's kind of like, again, I oftentimes, especially during this, I'm like, in the worst case scenario context, I was like, I'm risking my life for this. You know what I mean? Like I'm working on something, no matter what it be, what it may be. Like I'm working on crowd participation or controlling a heckler or whatever it may be. Even though I may be doing other jokes that I've done at this venue before, I want to work on
Well,
something else and discovering, uncovering a racist as well.
yeah. Well, let me ask you about that quick. So how are you feeling about performing now, especially since we're in the middle of this and like at the Comedy Zone, where you know eh, that whole audience, they're all sitting down without masks and everyone's laughing, and all that's coming towards us on the stage. How do you feel about that?
I would say, well, especially specifically at the Comedy Zone, I would have to say incredibly uncomfortable because that was a place. I actually talked to a buddy of mine that just recently, he said he walked into a Sheets. He was in Virginia or something like that. He was traveling for work, and he walked into a Sheets, and as soon as he walked in the Sheets, he said it stood out, because I know that that's going to be a thing for a while once we are able to not have masks on inside and stuff like that. I feel like that's going to be a huge thing, is getting used to seeing people's faces again, or
Yeah,
standing close to people again, stuff like that. And it's not going to be weird for some people, obviously, but I walked into Boomerangs last Thursday, or to whatever, the Comedy Zone,
yeah,
and as soon as I walked in there, I noticed both hostess, the people that are seating you, all of the waitresses, the bartender, nobody was wearing masks. And I was just like,
yeah,
we're arguably at the headed back up towards the second highest peak, whatever the fuck it is, or we're even higher a spike than we had before, and like, and I get the people not wearing them at the table, I guess, because they're eating, but also I go like, fuck, man, I don't know, like, I I, I am I'm assuming the risk by saying, like, I
yeah,
want to go out there and do that, and the precautions that I take are ones that make me feel comfortable. But when I go to a place like that and I see a ton of other people not taking any precautions, I don't feel as safe as I would like to be to perform there. Do you know what I mean? Like, for
yes,
free.
yeah,
So like,
yeah. No, no.
if I'm gonna do
I
it for
I
free,
I completely get it.
the Rec Room was one of those places that, um, again, it's not a I'd never felt unsafe. Like, I never, but because it didn't seem uh as dire. Plus, I figured out
Yeah,
that bandana trick, and I got some of those mic cover things that, like, you had, the little condom things,
yep,
stuff like that, hand sanitizer, all that stuff. Like, I was taking those kind of precautions, but then also, like, I might be sharing a little something something with people after the thing, after the
yeah,
mic. So I'm like, what? How careful am I actually being? But
yeah,
since it's gotten so dire, my fear, and my only fear with with COVID since this started, was getting the super deadly quick one. I don't care about getting it in general. Spreading it to people that do get the super bad one,
yeah,
right? Like people that I love, not even people that I don't. Literally anybody at Mike's. Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
Like, the covers are literally me saying, maybe I do have it. I also don't want to give it to a ton of other people, but
yeah,
basically what it comes down to is where we're headed to now, where ICU beds are filling up and there isn't enough room for people to be treated.
yeah,
That's the part where I'm like, oh, there's too many people. So now I'm not going to continue to contribute. Not saying that I didn't contribute before or I wasn't taking unnecessary risks, but
yeah,
I felt justified in the sense that I didn't feel like, but who knows how many people I could have sent to the fucking emergency room because maybe I'm a super spreader. I don't know.
yeah,
I did get tested and I was negative, but it's one of those things that I was tested once and I was negative. It doesn't mean that I didn't have it before or I wasn't there. Or how many times did I go to Mike's and not use a bandana or have a mask on when I'm performing? Or so I think it is me personally, at specifically at that venue that you talked about. I don't feel that comfortable just because of the amount of people in the room that weren't participating in the things that I consider to be safe
Yeah,
precautions. That, you know what I mean?
yeah. And I would think a lot of people agree with you on that. Uh, I'm right there with you,
Right.
especially on in that venue.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say, but I mean, what you said is right. I mean, we are assuming that risk,
Right.
you know, but that's why, I keep my mask on and try and stay,
I mean,
away from people.
I do the same thing at jujitsu. Like we thought about that. We talked about that even like today. Like we have the thing where we go like, oh, you have your own little squares. You stay with the same partner like every class, like no matter
Okay.
what, it's the same person. But you can't trust that everybody else is doing that same thing. You can't trust that
Yeah.
everybody when they leave class they're doing something else. Plus, how many times have we, oh, maybe we do switch partner? How many people, oh, if you feel comfortable switching partners, I don't know, maybe. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
None of it's condoned, or it just seems like nobody, it still feels like nobody's at the wheel.
Yeah.
That's the part where, but so all they can do is go by the risks as risk reward scenario. If I have jokes if I really like, the fact that I did have that outlet to go tell jokes at open mics and stuff again was a bit of normalcy that was comforting. That
Yes.
was in a way kind of worth dying for. You know what I mean? Kind of that thing of like to feel kind of normal again. But as far as
Yes.
like if they're shutting things down again, I have no ill will and I'm not going to get angry at anyone for doing that. And if
Yeah.
anything you have shown and the places that you've done business with and done and held these shows at has shown, we can absolutely come back. Like there's
Oh
no
yeah.
reason why it wouldn't still be here. It's just literally being funny in front of people. That's all we're
Yep.
trying to do. So
Yeah.
if you can't, you can do that later on. We can start trying to figure out how to do it with masks on, or we can do it where we are somehow distributing the vaccine. Like maybe we can just take a bunch of the vaccine and then once we are saying the words, it's in our spit. Or I don't know, you know what I mean? Make us super spreaders of that.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. I think there's hold on. Manny says I'm around hundreds of people every day. I go to work. Once everyone takes it seriously again, I will. Wait, what? What's the point of me taking all these precautions if the dude next to me isn't? I get it. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Manny's saying all
Yeah.
the right things. Uh, but I feel like that's that's a situation where you want to I don't the theme park thing of it when those are open,
Yeah.
that's the kind of thing of I don't know, but that's just somebody else's open mic.
Yeah.
That's just somebody
And
else. I don't feel entitled to an open mic, but I do feel that the open mic offers me a sense of normalcy that I missed, that I did
yeah.
miss. You know, being able to tell jokes and stuff like. I did a show in Virginia, right in the like right after the initial spike started to or the curve started to flatten or whatever. We did a show in Virginia. I wore my mask the whole time unless when I was on stage. I I did all those things and everything like that, but I'm still like, but we don't need to be here. You know what I mean? Like, I
Yes.
don't need to be here. I should have, it felt like, not that I felt guilty about it because it felt great to do comedy again. And it was
Yeah.
completely selfish, just like any of the other risks that I take. But I don't know. You know,
But
I don't know what the point is. I think the point is just consideration.
yeah, there is some consideration. I see Manny's point that, hey, being out, especially at like an amusement park or
Yeah.
something like that.
It can be. It's dangerous. It's not. It's an unnecessary risk to some. It's all perspective. It really is.
But I will say though, we had that guy who did test positive for corona that showed up at the rec room. He was there on November 3rd,
Mm.
and he started showing symptoms a week later. But the way it looks, he is the only one that got sick, and he was in that room because my test came back negative. no one else from the rec room has gotten sick either.
Right.
So
And
that's a good sign because people are wearing their mask or staying away from each other. I do know that guy who did get it because he comes with one of the other comics. It's her roommate, Hale. It's Haley's roommate, and he stays away from people. He doesn't really get up in people's faces, and he wears a mask a lot of times.
yeah.
Too.
Yeah, so it's one of those things like again, what most people have said even since the beginning of the whole COVID scare and everything was just basically was everybody will probably get this at some point. You know what I mean? So, but it's also may not be the worst case. Maybe you have this, maybe you don't have any symptoms whatsoever, maybe whatever it could be, but also it's just about how you act to it. Like it's about how you are the precautions no matter what. If you can, just do the thing. Like what's the point of me taking precautions if the person next to me isn't? I don't know. It's the same thing. Well, why should I use my blinker if that guy's not using his blinker? It's like the classic childish fucking response to anything. It's like to say like, why shouldn't I do it? I don't have to do it because he's not doing it. Like, Mom, he's looking at me. Like it's the same. It feels like the same feelings. So it's like having that. Like, why not? Like literally, what does it hurt if you do just follow the precautions because you do? It's about doing the right thing because you know it's the right thing, not because somebody else is doing it. Like if everybody jumped off a fucking bridge, blah blah blah, like any of that stuff. If we're just, I don't know. I think, exactly. Her roommate took precautions and still got sick. That's what Manny says. That's probably because the person next to him wasn't taking precautions. Manny, because no matter what, it's still in the droplets.
Yep.
That's the thing that's been consistent the whole time. Manny doesn't like wearing masks because it hides his gorgeous face, and it's hard for him to breathe when he's Scott Burton. But I feel like if everybody that had the thought, why should I have to wear a mask? I have a health condition, or you could still get sick, or whatever. If you just said it with a mask on, I think you would be able to see, and then you would go, oh, that's why. But I don't know. Yeah, he did sneeze in his mouth. Okay, so yeah, that might have been it. Manny, I don't want to, honestly, I'm not here, people in glass houses, but Manny, that may have been a factor, but I don't know. But while Manny's here and while Ron's here, we're going to close up the show. Make sure you check out Falls Count Anywhere with Manny and Youngblood. That's Manny right there. And he's also on the playlist right here on this channel, so check it out. Make sure to check out it's also Youngblood, but Youngblood's not here, but he's also there. And Ron,
yes,
tell them where to find you.
Ron King Comedy. You can find me on any of the socials, and of course, please check out the DNR podcast.
Hell yeah!
Newest episode just dropped today. Every Wednesday we drop a new episode.
Every Wednesday, that's what it is. I was like, I know I listen. It comes out on a day where I'm recording, and I was like, I knew it's either. I don't know if it's Monday, and I was just late to it. But hell yeah, every Wednesday. Fuck yeah, dude.
Every Wednesday.
All right.
Yep.
Well,
then when you do the occasional little mini drop or the extra episode here and there.
Hell yeah. Well, if you're listening and or watching wherever you are, make sure you check them out. Thanks for checking us